Ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you that the most chilling monsters aren't lurking in the shadows or hiding under your bed, but they can walk among us, wearing the faces of ordinary men? In this video, we delve deep into the life of one such monster, a man whose very name sends shivers down the spine of those who know his story. Meet 𝗕𝗲𝗆𝗺, an unassuming figure you might think based on his appearance, but behind those eyes lies a darkness so profound it's almost unimaginable. Our tale begins in 1870 in Washington, D.C., a city of promise, of dreams, but for one child it would be the backdrop of a nightmare that began all too soon. But before we dive deeper into this abyss, I must warn you, the journey we're about to embark on is not for the faint of heart. For in the tale of 𝗕𝗲𝗆𝗺, we confront the very essence of evil and the depths to which humanity can sink. 2. Early life and childhood. The Fish family lineage was shadowed by the grip of mental illness. His uncle was consumed by manic syndrome. One of his brothers was confined to a state mental hospital, while a half-brother grappled with schizophrenia. Annie, his sister, was diagnosed with a mental affliction. 3 more of his kin were said to have varying degrees of mental turmoil. And at the heart of it all was his mother, haunted by oral and visual phantoms that only she could perceive. Tragedy struck early for 𝗕𝗲𝗆 with the death of his father, but what followed was even more heart-wrenching. Unable to take care of him by herself, 𝗕𝗲𝗆's mother decided to place him in an orphanage at just 5 years old. 3. Orphanage horrors. The St. John's Orphanage in Washington, D.C. was a place devoid of human kindness, where hope was but a fleeting dream. Here, young 𝗕𝗲𝗆 was subjected to daily rituals of brutality. But what's truly chilling is that with each strike, with each lash, he began to find a perverse kind of pleasure. Pain, for him, started to morph into a source of delight. But the horrors didn't end with mere beatings. The orphanage was a breeding ground for the macabre. 𝗕𝗲𝗆 was exposed to acts so sadistic that they're hard to fathom. It was here, amidst the screams and the cruelty, that the seeds of his twisted psyche were planted and nurtured. In 1980, 5 years after entering the orphanage, his mother managed to secure a government job that provided her with the means to support her family. With her new employment, she was able to remove 𝗕𝗲𝗆 from the orphanage. She brought him back into the family fold. Unfortunately, it was too late, as a terrible transformation had already occurred. From the ashes of his broken childhood and the horrors of the orphanage, the monster within 𝗕𝗲𝗆 was rising, setting him on a path that would terrify a nation. 4. Emergence into adulthood. In 1882, when Fish was just 12, he struck up a friendship with a telegram delivery boy, slightly his senior. This acquaintance led Fish down a path of many unconventional and disgusting behaviors, such as the drinking of urine and ingestion of other bodily secretions. He became a frequent visitor to public baths so he could watch young boys, and dedicated much of his teenage years to this activity. He also developed a habit of writing obscene letters to women he found through classified ads and matrimonial services. During his 20s, Fish moved to New York City and before long was participating in male prostitution. He developed a taste for truly sickening and vile acts, such as the molesting and raping of boys, most with mental disabilities, and some even younger than 6 years old. Yet, amidst this growing storm of malevolence, Fish sought to paint a picture of normalcy. In 1898, at age 28, he walked down the aisle for the first time, trying to show the semblance of a regular life. He fathered 6 children, and to the outside world, it might have seemed like Fish was just another man battling life's challenges. But behind the closed doors of his home, the storm raged on, his dark desires growing even stronger. 5. The depravity continues. In 1910, now age 40, Fish met 19-year-old Thomas Bedden in Wilmington, Delaware, and the two began a sadomasochistic relationship. The relationship didn't last, though, as one day Fish lured Bedden to an abandoned house and proceeded to torture the intellectually disabled man over a period of 2 weeks, culminating in the mutilation of his genitalia and abandonment. Bedden was never seen or heard of again after the incident. In 1917, Fish's wife left him for John Straub, a handyman who boarded with the Fish family. Fish had to raise his children as a single parent, and after his arrest, began to have auditory hallucinations and self-harm. X-rays revealed that Fish had at least 29 needles lodged in his pelvic region. He also hit himself repeatedly with a nail-studded paddle. As the years wore on, the violence only continued. In 1919, Fish kidnapped an intellectually disabled boy in Georgetown and used implements such as a meat cleaver, a butcher's knife, and a small handsaw to torture, mutilate, and murder him and other young children. 6. Most notorious crime. One of the most chilling tales in Fish's repertoire of horrors is that of Grace Budd, a young innocent girl who was tragically lured into Fish's web of deceit. After befriending her parents through an employment arrangement, Fish convinced them to let Grace accompany him to a party one evening. Instead, he took Grace to an abandoned house previously picked out to use for the murder of his next victim, located in Irvington, New York. There, Fish strangled, decapitated, and dismembered the poor child before also eating her entire body. Fish, in a perverse need to relive his crime, or perhaps to torment further, penned a detailed letter to the Budd family recounting the unspeakable acts he committed upon their daughter. As word of his crime spread, a wave of dread washed over society. People's imaginations ran wild, and nicknames such as the Gray Man, the Werewolf of Wisteria, the Brooklyn Vampire, the Moon Maniac were given to this twisted maniac at large. 7. Capture and trial. However, even the most elusive predators can falter, and for the Gray Man, his downfall came in the form of an ill-advised letter. The horrifyingly detailed letter he had sent to the family of Grace Budd contained a unique emblem that was traceable to a house that Fish had stayed in recently. This clue was the break the authorities needed. They set a trap which forced Fish to return to the residence, and when he did, the police were waiting to arrest him. The trial that ensued was nothing short of a media circus. Every day, newspapers were filled with lurid details, painting a picture of a man whose crimes seemed almost otherworldly in their cruelty. The nation was both repulsed and morbidly drawn to the unfolding drama. But it was Fish's own words, his confessions, that truly sent shivers down spines. With an almost casual demeanor, he recounted the bone-chilling details of his crimes, leaving listeners in stunned disbelief. 8. Execution and legacy. Albert Fish's journey culminated in the electric chair, but in a final twist of his twisted psyche, he seemed almost fascinated, even excited, by the prospect of his own execution. As the switch was thrown, one of history's most notorious killers was no more. Yet his legacy was far from over. The tales of his heinous acts, the stories of his victims, and the chilling letters he penned have left an indelible mark on the annals of criminal history. His name remains synonymous with the darkest corners of human behavior, a testament to the evil that can exist in plain sight. 9. Conclusion. As we reflect on the life and crimes of Albert Fish, we are forced to confront the unsettling depths of human depravity. It's a chilling reminder that monsters don't always lurk in the shadows or hide under the bed. Sometimes they walk among us, wearing the face of an ordinary man. Let this tale serve as a warning, a beacon, urging us always to be vigilant, for we never truly know the darkness that might reside in the heart of a fellow human.